scribble it out right over again.
I find that my greatest inspiration is right after going home.
Just stare at it.
9 o'clock in the morning.
As soon as the camera gets on, we not do anything.
Jogs and things, you know, the whole meeting scenario.
Just like the cat.
Yeah,
do it, Sparky. Do it.
It's either that or strung out on coffee.
At 4 in the morning.
3 actually.
And everyone wonders why all of my stories are I'm going insane. Well, I was strung out on coffee and I started writing it at 4 in the morning.
Of life and what happens with most people. And I didn't title it, but it's just one of those things that just come to mind. But I'm so tired. Can't I just sit down and rest for a while? No, came the answer. There is no time to rest now. You must press forward as fast and as far as you can, for no one knows when the great darkness will arrive. What about those people over there? They're sitting down, resting, waiting until they have the strength to go on. Look again, said the voice. Those who stop to rest can no longer go on, because you see they have become part of the rocks they sit upon. My mind began to race with all sorts of renewed options for going on. I almost felt renewed strength from deep inside. So this is what separates the haves from the have-nots, I reasoned as I sat down to ponder a while.
Hi.
Like a sad thing that you have to do.
Everyone thinks that my face actually looks like...
Sean, I'm Sean. Wonderful.
It's a meeting of Sean's.
That's
And
Okay.
Pat.
And what was your
Yeah,
name?
This is a special moment.
Jenny?
Yeah.
Okay.
You've met Jenny, haven't
Jenny.
you? Oh, you have. You just
Yeah.
don't
You
remember
don't
Jenny.
pedal our pillows.
I'm not using any.
Have a seat, guys. Make yourselves comfortable.
Everybody's furniture.
How much?
And I bought it. I don't know. I didn't ask about those.
I bought it. That was cute.
No, no.
Randy owns a tree of life.
Cool. I don't know how much it was, but I bought it.
Here, take whatever you need.
No, I bought a Chinese scroll with a little goodie bag. It's pretty old, but I gotta have it checked out to see exactly what it is.
By the way, that guy's a thief.
Okay.
No, that is
Buddha?
No, the guy who is furniture.
I used to worship him when I was a
I've been
child.
worshiping a thief.
The guy that
Worshiping the guy in everybody's
That's pretty creepy.
How do you substantiate it?
Brian used to work for him.
Who?
Brian. You never met him. Well, never mind that, it's unimportant. Brian written, I have nothing written.
Okay, it's the frank excuse of the week. No.
The dog was pissing on his story tonight.
No, I have a wonderful excuse.
No, I know.
You gotta make up
Yeah,
the
let's
story.
see. I'm gonna go into this.
Dress.
Where's she gonna steal?
Stress.
I had something that I came up with last week, and I wanted to work on it, but I didn't. And I will eventually do something with it.
Do you have an idea that you'd like to present for us?
I am working right into that.
Okay,
I'm doing
sorry.
it slick like.
Well, chocolate.
It's another sort of werewolf type idea. Okay. But I'm trying to work on a concept of the animal nature of mankind, or human nature. I haven't decided whether I want to try to have the whole thing psychosis or not.
These guys are actually fine because you guys were so late.
It's a mental thing that he's doing. It's something like that. Just the
I'm
outside.
going insane.
Could be like Dorian Gray. Could be a concept of...
All right, who's next? Maybe you would have gotten ate by the dog.
He was a murderer.
There's a dog out there?
But yet he never really showed.
All over.
Yeah, it was gross.
There's a spotlight on Jill.
I'd always heard about it when it came out.
Denise, a banana once I brought it.
Jill, do you have something to share with the group?
It's Dorian Gray.
Jill?
Because I thought...
Jill, do you have something to share with the group?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
The title is Condemned. Well, the title of the poem is Condemned.
Is this the one that you start out with screaming profanity?
No.
Because when you did that, I went...
bastards. No.
Yeah, that one I went, whoop. What's going on?
That's just to get your attention.
Definitely did.
I was I was here 1,000 lifetimes before, all of which I spent in silent desolation. And nay, I know not to repent, for I have lived beyond, and I have tasted the fruits of bliss, to never be pure again. And that's how it starts out. Okay, I'm not sure what I want to title this. I want something simplistic, but something that makes the mind wander, like the book.
Sorry, I can help.
Saturday, November 12th, 1834. It had been a year of late since I had last heard from my dear friend Colin. It's not that I find a single year's disappearance anything to really be concerned over. However, with reference to Colin, since this was more than unusual for him, I had much to be disturbed over. I must confess, though, I really am not sure which I found most distressing, his disappearance or his letter that he left for me. I had just sat with him, sharing in the usual conversation. This evening in particular, we were contemplating the various possibilities of Leadbeater's thesis on astral and ethereal planes of existence. While slowly sipping some French Benedictine of a vintage I'm unsure, and enjoying the sweet, melodious sound of Colin's newly purchased treasure of a Varian harp. I do believe he stated he got it from a gypsy caravan passing through Glastonbury a week prior. Anyways, I could not find any trace nor hint to believe that anything could possibly be awry. After such a relaxing evening, I summoned my coach, and we bid each other farewell till the next time. As my coach passed into the dark night, my mind was at peace, and had no reason to be otherwise. Things, I found, were quick to change. Upon my arrival home, I had been seriously surprised to find that a courier had left me a letter, sealed and purloined, with the familiar sigil that I have come to know distinctly as Colin's family crest. I could not find any reason in my mind why he could not have given it to me this evening when we had last spoke. My mind reeled in the possibilities, but still I would come up empty-handed, having no clue to give me an explanation of why my friend had sent this letter. With eager curiosity, my fingers gingerly fondled the letter as I unfolded it to read. The letter, though as if furiously scrawled in haste, was distinctly in Colin's handwriting, nevertheless. It read as follows. Address, Alexander Sebastian Greer, Esquire. No postmark. Edinburgh, November 13th. My dear Alexander, I must regret parting on such terms. However, I have been summoned to meet with my uncle in northern Italy. I set sail this evening. My nerves at present are the worst part of me, yet they feel soothed when I think that I shall not be destined to remain in this one spot long enough to take an extreme hatred to any four particular bedposts. Worry not for my welfare, since I am confident that you well might. For my worry and lost sleep over this is enough to pay for the both of us. The possibility of what my uncle could possibly want from me is beyond my imagination, and as you know, my imagination is as a monastery, and I am as its monk. I regret you must explain these metaphors to yourself, as I find such amusement in explaining their meanings to you. Unfortunately, since I know not for what purpose I am called, I am at a loss to tell you when I may return. To my knowledge, my uncle is not only a recluse, but also an extreme eccentric. This makes outguessing my uncle a bit more precarious, so I dare not do so. Nevertheless, I shall stay in constant contact through correspondence, and I am ever so inclined to take your advice now. Let the heavens and stars guide us blindly through the darkest night. As now, I am left with the only hope that fate shall mercifully play a good deal of the cards. So I anxiously await the night when we may again engage in another one of our discussions, which I so deeply enjoy, and shall indeed surely miss. Ever your most sincere friend, Colin E. Briggs. I remember being stunned. I had no questions that were unanswered, but still I could not help feel irrevocably disturbed, very disturbed. However, I put my fears aside and patiently await his next letter. Time passed. Days became weeks. Weeks became months, and they continued to roll past. all without a word from my dear friend Colin. Odd as it was, as time grew older, I slowly forgot, or at least shuffled it to the deeper recesses of my mind, as other matters took precedence in importance. I never really quite thought much about it until I received a letter, and unsigned as it may have been, I knew quite well whom it was from. It was then when all came rushing back to me, as if it had been yesterday. This long-awaited letter, a year's wait, was simply no more than a note saying, I have something of a great magnitude of which I cannot find the words to emphasize, that I must speak to you about. As soon as you can, come. I found my mind screaming in anger that it could not find rest to become at ease. I had no sleep due to the sheer number of questions that this letter had brought me to inquire of, instead of answering the many that were there in the first place. I decided that night that I must visit my friend the very next day. I had to know what happened to Colin and what was of such importance. The morning sun, after what had seemed like years, finally rose above the horizon. Never before had the morning sun been so bright, as if the heavens above had come to life and set the dawn ablaze in a burst of flame. You should recognize that one, Sean. I spent the whole day preparing for the evening. I canceled all my appointments, much to my patient's dismay. I packed a bag and alerted the coachman. We were able to be road-bound by late afternoon. The coach made its way through the failing day as the sun slowly lowered itself towards the horizon. The skies raged in vehement turmoil, like a pack of wild dogs banding together, waiting for the dark to descend down upon the feeble and the weak, to feed upon all the helpless ones. The storm was close at hand, and as a dark passed over the land, anyways, a dark, not natural, for the sun had not set yet, but an abnormal, seething dark cast about by the overbearing storm clouds. Panic showed itself strewn about the land. The birds had disappeared from the skies above, and the animals of the earth had run for cover. I could even sense the fear in the driver's quake as he struggled to keep the horses under control. We pressed onwards harder than before. The patter of the horse's steps slowed down gradually to a stop. All this time, I've tried to keep the subject of Colin at bay, struggling to stave it off. But there were just too many numerous thoughts, too many unprecedented fears that danced about through my head. Hesitation set in as if I could not find the strength to go on. With a deep breath and acting without thought, I eased myself out of the carriage. Step by step, I continued up to the great double doors. With each unfaltering step, I became more aware, more convinced that something was amiss. Something was not just right. I shook as a cold shiver worked its way down my spine. With a heavy sigh, I brought my clenched fist to bear down upon the oaken door. Rapping ever so boldly, my body, my mind, and my very soul stood rigid, as if standing upon the abrupt edge of a plummeting precipice, overlooking the sea. With a hollowed thump, the air seemed to dull, to become stagnant, and deathly still. With my breath held in anticipation, I awaited a response. Abruptly breaking the silence with a grating creak, the door reluctantly opened inwards, invitingly. Dimly, the pale moon shone its rays into the dark void that lay beyond the door. I struggled to gaze beyond, my eyes unable to penetrate the dark. As my eyes slowly adjusted, I could faintly make out the silhouette of a solitary figure as it turned away and strode deeper into the dark, safe recesses. Without hesitation, I quickly entered the beckoning darkness, pushing the door tightly shut behind me. The familiar surroundings struck subtle notes in my memory's mind. The simple but ornate furnishings held a relaxing feel about them. Curio cabinets lined the walls to the ceiling, filled with marvelous little oddities brought back from the far corners of the earth. Although everything looked the same as it had a year before, things were somehow changed, slightly askew. I entered the sitting room. Bookcases lined the walls. A roaring fire was ablaze in the fireplace. In front of it sat the 2 armchairs with the chessboard set up still from our game a year ago. In the chair to the right sat Colin, intently gazing into a book. As I entered, he peered up from the tome, quickly shut it, and put it aside. I stood there with my mouth agape in disbelief. Colin sat back as if nothing was wrong, and motioned me to take the chair on the opposite side of the chessboard. I couldn't move. I could only stare and wonder what possibly could have happened to my friend. Why, Alexander. Yes. Why, Alexander. Yes, it has indeed been a while. I regret the stress has apparently gotten to you. Please, have a seat. Would you prefer brandy or some green ale from Ireland? I could not determine what was wrong. What horrors could have befallen my friend to have caused him to look so... He seemed to have aged at least 20 years. His hair had turned a dullish gray, wrinkles had covered his forehead, and his eyes lie almost hidden, recessed deep into their sockets, with bags hanging underneath. Put perhaps that it was not the most... I'm sure that means that was not the most of it. Perhaps the most bizarre feature that showed up upon Colin's worn and ragged face was the fact that his eyes had glazed over with a thick, milky white coating, as that of a blind man's. What ordeal could have pushed the human body so far as to break it and age it like this? If I recall correctly, Alexander, it is your move. We left off with your king in check by my rook. I was able to sit down, and I gazed down at the chessboard. My mind was reeling. I feared not to upset Colin, so I shrugged as I pulled a facade over myself, and bit my lip with fervid determination. Picking up my king, I moved him aside. With a single move of his knight, Colin looked up with sadness streaming across his face, as the words fell like stones from his lips. Checkmate. He sighed and got up from his armchair, with his snifter of brandy in one hand, and the leather-bound book in the other. He slowly sauntered towards the fireplace. With a sigh, he turned and said, "Let me tell you a little story, Alex, if you will. Perhaps then your mind will become once again at ease. 1 year ago, I left suddenly for Italy upon the request of my uncle. I regret the way I left, but I was not in the mood to deal with your impending questions, since I had not the answers which you would have sought. So, I was left only with one option of leaving you a letter. So what happened when I got to Italy? My uncle's health had been failing, and he was no longer able to keep care of his business's dealings. He wished that I could take over his banking business for him so that he may take up other pursuits. I did. I regret business was so fruitful that I had not the time to write, as I had promised. Work had its stiff costs, and I've come out much worse for the wear, as you have no doubt noticed. Anyways, upon the passing away of my uncle, I liquidated the business and its assets, packed up, and returned home here." "Well, that's that, my friend," he said, and then took a large gulp of brandy. "So, how about you? Life seems to have treated you well this past year." He dropped the end of that sentence as if expecting me to pick up from there. I didn't. Frankly, I did not believe his story. For one, it was brief, and I knew Colin. Believe you me, Colin was... We really. And believe you me, Colin likes detail and overemphasis. Second, it wasn't that I felt he was lying, but something just didn't fit, as if he purposely tried avoiding many details. Colin obviously caught that I didn't buy his sorry excuse for a tale, let alone an explanation.
You low down.
"Well," he stated nervously, "I should have known that you'd indeed know me better than that. Very well, worry not. Sit back, and I shall give...
Oh, yay. Okay, let's try
And I
this
shall
on
give
a
you a
side.
Storytelling for the schizophrenic.
and I shall give you a much better account of what befell me this year past. Perhaps then I may be able to quench your curiosity. What is wrong, you're thinking? Lately I find it so excruciatingly difficult to deal with the doldrums of everyday life anymore. I suppose it's not really the ennui of life itself, nor could it particularly be the lack of motivation to do something, to indeed make things more interesting. No, it's definitely my lack of desire to try to save my pathetic life. But perhaps deep within, I find some comfort. Maybe I'm really happy this way. I no longer really know for sure. No, my friend, don't get me wrong. 'Tis not depression, nor any form of mania that afflicts me. At least, not any longer. Italy indeed changed me. No, my friend, what causes this, what you see, is certainly the fact that I've tasted what is found in the lost garden beyond. And indeed, I shall never be quite the same. There's no real reason for concern, mind you. I'm quite fine, I assure you. 'Tis after all not madness that motivates me. 'Tis simply and certainly knowing far more than that which is good for my own well-being. Shocked, scared, and stunned perhaps might describe things in a better light. Certainly I am now no longer fit for confinement here in this earthly prison. With the knowledge of what lies so near us, so close, I'm driven to frustration knowing that I must await patiently through this hell in order to be able to hold it in the sight of thine eyes again. There's so much there, my friend, oh so much. I'm ravenous with desire for that which I have seen. It kills me to think that I may not touch it or possess its essence. Trust me, my friend, you would be too, if you had seen what I have seen and experienced the torture that I've undergone this year past. It all started upon my arrival in Italy. That's as far as I got.
Did you do that one setting?
No, I got up to the second letter that he got saying, I have something of great magnitude of which I cannot find the words to emphasize that which I must speak to you about as soon as you can.
On the right-hand side.
Wow. I got that far last night.
Bye-bye.
826-7418. That's right, folks. It's 826-7418.
Call me.
2 stories. Which one should I read first, Jill?
The shortest one. Which is the other one you're reading?
I'm going to read that one I wrote.
You should read that.
Okay, I won't read that. Why? Was it too personal? Okay.
Whoa.
You're right. I won't read it. Okay. Too personal. I'm not sure what that meant, but
You said it.
too close to me. Okay, folks.
I know that too.
This is what I've been waiting for. Because I'm sure you all haven't. This is the beginning of Elk. I finally got the beginning of that. Mark, that's a pretty tight angle, don't you think? Get that right into that nose and the nose hair angles. Mark, go somewhere else.
I'm intimidated. I have to read this.
I'm becoming one with the story. Okay.
You seem to be merging.
This is the beginning of Elk. I've set it up, I think, for people before. I'm not going to do it again. Let's just leap into it. Okay. It would take some time before the elk would come. The starving man was patient and he would wait. It might take a lifetime, but they would come. The man's dull eyes intently watched the rise. They had been there before, when the air brought frost, making the nights unbearably cold, and when the days were shorter, he thought, as they were now. He shivered. The thick hide that surrounded his body would not be enough for the night. Where were the tall beasts? The hunger tore at his gut, making him paw at the ground and slowly raise himself to his feet. He walked in dizzying circles until he collapsed. He lapsed into sleep. Hours passed when he finally stirred. The cold had stabbed into his bones and frozen his already numb joints. He rolled and pushed himself to his knees. A pleasureless groan escaped his throat. The pain in his head was intense. The cold had surely broken his skull, he thought. His nose, broken many times in the past, felt as though it were being broken again and again, minute after minute. He would have to find shelter, or he would become cold and stiff as the stone. He stumbled down from his rocky hiding place. The hill was steep, but he had no time for caution. As he moved along the unsettled stone, his eyes blurred. He wavered, then fell, and he crashed end over end down the hillside. His mind blanked out. Then he came to at the bottom of the hill. Blood trickled out of his first arm and chest. He lifted his head from the ground. His eyes blurred again. His mind wavered. He felt the stone coming over him, taking his warmth and blood. Rocks clattered in confused rhythm. He saw a woman, one from his tribe, lay down and never move again. He heard the rocks crack together. He felt her cold body grow colder. The rocks now much louder. His mind snapped back. It was not a night vision. It was real. It was the elk. His strength returned. His hunger guided his body to its feet. He heard the hooves crash against the rocks on the rise. He was running now. He must hop the hill or lose his prize. Somewhere along the way he managed to find a fist-sized stone. Darkness had finally set in, and it would work to his favor. As he topped the hill, so too did the elk. Their shadowy forms covered the rise. The lead elk were 10, maybe 15 strides away. He loosed the stone. It struck a large lead bull square between the antlers. The blow was not enough to wound it, only spook it. It veered sharply to its right, and the herd followed. It made for the jagged edge of the hillside. The man grabbed another stone and another, throwing wildly and blindly into the herd. He screamed excitedly. The screams pushed the herd faster. The stones guided them along. The entire herd, more than 30 all told, cascaded down the dark, steep hillside. One animal, a young one, crashed to the rocks under a broken leg. Another followed. A yearling was trampled by 3 heavy cows. Still another was routed into a shallow crevice. The man followed. His path was easy and sure. He saw to that days ago. He pushed the herd faster. The biggest and strongest would survive this run. And so they did make the base of the slope, but only to come to a cliff that dropped 30 or so man-lengths. It was dark. They leaped as though to glide a narrow drop. There was no shelf at the end. They all plummeted to the broken crags below. The fortunate elk died immediately. The others were crippled, and later the man would bludgeon them with boulders.
Yeah. Woo.
I heard it.
No, it's dry. It's just paper.
It's more life forever on Kodiak film.
And it is.
It was acceptable to your
Oh, I'm
teacher.
sorry.
Me.
And this is, yes, this is.
I'm sorry, Joe.
You should go for a minor in mathematics. You could break this code and nothing flat.
I'm taking 6.
Oh.
I'm sorry.
No, it's the getting up scene.
No, this is new.
Wait, go away so I can do this. Doesn't make any sense.
Back off. It almost makes sense.
No.
I guess we could review it later.
I'm number 16.
No.
15. Trying to think. And so it's
Take a quarter.
and trying to still absorb it.
Pretty cool.
Oh wait, that icon melted in my hand.
No, not really.
No, pick up the icon melts on her nice carpet.
There is a story written on that.
Hi.
That is easy. And that story had an explanation of what it was. So then,
Do you still have it down you?
Lots.
I'm happy.
So are you all going to kill me now that you see what I think of you?
no, you're accurate. You was
red. But this was several years ago. I was 14 when I went over there. And it is not named. Over a blue and gold field with mountains capped in white, a great harvest it does yield, for some men's right. The animals it does hold, of blues and greens, and colors yet untold, both angels and queens. In this land do thrive flowers and grasses, rocks that are alive, schools in great masses. Beauty is here, alive and bright, but also fear of a perfect right. A perfect killer, a perfect killing machine, makes his kingdom here, a majestic king, alive without fear. Over great mountains some beasts do leap, with jolly fountains earn their keep. Of this land of blue with colors bright, beautiful it's true, both day and night. This glorious kingdom we have yet to explore, but men with wisdom reach for the floor. Its beauty unfolding before our wondering eyes, great men go bolding with great surprise. The wonders and glory of our universe are held holy in some men's verse. And that's as far as I went. There's going to be more, but that's as far as I
It's the
wrote at
Bahamas.
the time.
Yeah, other things to do.
I just found it recently. But it's about the ocean, in case you couldn't know. I think you figured that out. But I just thought it was
I
cool.
thought it was about dragons.
Yeah,
Is the
stick-legged
king-
men.
Is the king referring to a shark, perhaps?
I don't remember, where did I read it? Yeah, the killing machine. Yeah, that's the shark.
That's all I
And then the dolphins that are
I thought it was
jumping
the
over
Terminator. That's the
Oh,
crazy
mind if I
idea.
be a C5 now?
I mean, you guys asked to see this.
When I was in 5th grade, I was really scared of sharks, and I lived by the coast, so my grandma said that if you learn about something, your fear will go away. Well, I was way more terrified after I read like these huge books on shark attacks. They usually bite in 3 feet or less of water. I like measure the bathtub. 2.5, I'm safe.
You read the wrong one, though.
Oh yeah,
Because-
shark attacks on men through the ages. I'm like,
Yeah, exactly. Because sharks
And
don't attack
Jaws
men.
and all of
They only attack men when they're provoked, and it's very seldom.
I hear they go for the
Or when
babes
they think
more.
you're a seal or something. Yeah, and that's why they attack, usually, is because they think you're their food. They don't like the taste of humans. Eating you.
oh yeah, they have to take the first bite to find out though.
Unfortunately, but they don't. That's why usually a shark attack is only one bite, unless the animal is sick. You know, and it's
Unfortunately, it's usually fatal.
fatal.
Yeah, the one bite is like.
I heard that they kind of nudge you, or almost like they taste you, or smell you, or
Yeah,
whatever.
they do.
A shark
To
is
see if
incredible.
you're-
If you touch on their skin, it's like sharp.
It's like
sand.
sandpaper.
In one direction, right.
Rip all your skin.
No,
No, I don't. I think this is one
No, they're only done because I went to the winter formal thing last night. So. But anyway, this is when I broke my thumb like 6 weeks ago or something. But I wrote this, and this was like a really emotional. It was like really early in the morning. I woke up and I went, wow! And I got a little piece of paper and a pen and I wrote it. But it's not. I don't know. You guys are all writing like really symbolic things, you know, and you're all using all this fancy stuff to symbolize other things, and mine just kind of says it.
Do it.
So it
No,
is-
that'll be a
That's
nice
the way
break.
they do it.
That's a minus 5. That's a C1.
Yeah, I said, I'm going insane. Then you're fine.
Okay, it's okay. I'll just read it. Jennifer, stop daydreaming. Do you have your homework done? Do your homework. Study for finals. Clean that pigsty of a room up. Bring up your grades. The vacuuming's not done yet, Jenny. I thought I told you to do that yesterday. Make your bed. Jenny, did you finish reading Moby Dick yet? Can I borrow your assignment? I was so busy I forgot to do mine. What do you mean you didn't have time to do your homework? F. Make dinner, Jenny. Oh, it's 5:30 and you still haven't got a fire built? But Dad, it's Angie's job. I had to do mine first. He doesn't hear me. I spin around and around, but they all ignore me. No, I don't have time to do your chores, Angie. Wait, don't leave. I said no, you'll have to do it. Jennifer, get that fire built. But it's Angie's job, I yell. He can't hear me. Listen, listen! I start to cry, but it doesn't help. No one listens. They can't hear me. They don't care. Then I see him, standing quietly, waiting patiently. He takes me by the hand. Jen, what's wrong? Tell me about it. He quiets my sobs and dries my tears. Jenny, I care. Yes, but he's the only one. Jennifer, don't you have that kitchen cleaned already? Look at these bills. $400 for car insurance. Jenny, bring me your keys. But Dad, it's not my fault. I've never got a ticket. I've never even been stopped. You can't do this to me. They can't do this to me. He can't hear me. No one can. I spin around and around, but no one listens. Listen, I cry. Listen! 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 Then, silence. I see him, standing quietly, waiting patiently for me. He takes me by the hand. Jen, tell me, you know I'm here. I look at him with my heart in my eyes. He quiets my sobs and dries my tears. Jenny, I care. Yes, if he's the only one. He's too old, Jenny. I don't want you to see him anymore. He's a nice guy, but I think you ought to be careful. You have to make the right choices now. You don't want regrets later. You're too young to make your own decisions. No, I cry. No, I'm not. But they don't hear me. You're too young. I spin around and around. Nothing makes sense. I've never been in serious trouble. I'm not rebellious. I work hard and get good grades. Why don't they trust me? I start to cry, but it doesn't help. No one listens. They can't hear me. They don't care. Then I see him, standing quietly, waiting patiently for me. He takes me by the hand. Jen, look at this big, strong shoulder. It's all yours. I smile a little. He quiets my sobs and dries my tears. The tenderness in his eyes tells me how much he cares. I feel all warm inside. He takes me in his arms and holds me. I feel safe, protected, loved. I look up into his eyes and smile. He cares. He'll listen. I say quietly and gently, with all my heart and soul, I love you.
Look at the Kleenex.
The precious moments.
Yeah, actually, in the bag.
Well, I haven't
sounds
had
a lot like
a real one yet, but I was getting close. That'd have been another 2 minutes, I would have busted down and cried.
That's good. That's what I felt like when I was growing up.
I now have a great perspective. I'm happy I'm no longer a teenager.
And then I woke up and it was only me.
And then the alarm went off, and oh no, my homework wasn't done.
What do you mean I have school tomorrow? I don't want to go.
What do you mean this is Saturday?
Sean, how you doing?
I always make faces in the mirror. I go,
Yes, I know.
We know.
I'm sitting out it like,
faces anymore. You
Sean,
destroyed me forever.
hurry up. I've really got to go.
Go off the back porch and make your faces.
I can't do this on the back porch.
Afraid that it was going to end up, it's like no one's listening to her. And this one guy's ready, and she's not really listening to him either. And doing the same thing everyone else was doing. I'm glad she finally stopped.
There was a ship without oars sailing around the coast of South America. And one morning, there's an incredible calm and the sea is like glass and they're stranded. The evening comes and they realize that the water is running low. Just before dawn, another ship passes and they can see the light and they signal to the ship. And they say, "Will you give us some water? We're really thirsty." And the other ship signals back and says, "Lower your buckets and get some water." And the captain's just like, "Oh God, just these guys yanking my chain and just bring somebody, damn it, you sea dogs, and we're dying of thirst and everything." And the ship signals back, "Calmly, drop your buckets and get some water. You're in the delta of the Amazon River, and the water is fresh."
Oh, that's horrible.
A master archer pulls back his bow and aims towards the target. He takes everything into account, and he knows because he's good that the arrow will be right in the bullseye. But he's not touching the arrow the whole time, is he? And so he does his best and aims and so forth, but once he let go, it's out of his hands. The young boy has a question about his English. And so he says, who should I go to about my question in English? Should I go to my geometry teacher? No. Should I go to my physical education teacher? No. He says, I think I'll go to my English teacher with my English question. Man drives to work every morning. And there's a traffic light. And every morning he goes, this darn traffic light takes so long to turn, and there's no traffic coming from the other directions. So he's like, "Ugh." But one morning he gets there, and there's an incredible pileup. This huge, snarled, twisted metal. And he finds out later it's because one man decided that he wasn't going to obey the traffic light and charged out and got in an accident, and he was hours late, whereas before he'd only had a few minutes delay. There's a father, and he looks out over his lawn and says, "I do believe it's time to mow the lawn." So he goes, I have 2 sons. One of the sons is wicked, rebellious, orange, I'm gonna just piss off my dad, I'm smoking. Look at me, Dad, I'm smoking. And then he has his other son who's just nice, clean cut,
Sean.
does everything he's asked for. What?
No.
Does everything that's asked of him. So the father goes to the good son. He says, "Good son, will you please take the lawnmower and mow the lawn?" And the good son goes, "Of course, Father, I will do everything that you ask of me." But he goes off in his new car and drives away and doesn't do it. Father goes to the other son. "Son, will you mow the lawn?" And the other son says, "Psh, up yours, Pops. Gee whiz, I'm gonna, where's my bong?" And anyways, so later, the bad son, the one who didn't do anything right, usually, goes, gets the lawnmower, starts it up, and mows the lawn. Which one of them did what the father asked? That's it. 5 parables. Some of them are mine. And some of them, no, there's the one about the ship, one about the archer, one about the teacher.
You mentioned this earlier. You said
About
4.
Oh,
I'm
sorry,
sorry.
I had 5. 5
Inconsistency.
parables. I
And
know.
what numbers?
Bloodletting in front of the group. Anyways, some
Yeah,
of the
which one's
groups of those.
Basically, I felt like last week, if we would have had like a 2-paragraph minimum, then passed it on, it would have made a difference. And I also noticed that whoever the person was next to that person right after the story began, more or less set the tone for that particular thing. And I also, like I mentioned earlier, that the dragon one, everyone kind of had a fixation on that, so it was easier for that one to flow than some of the other ones.
Like the poem one?
And as the night got on, that things got, your mind just wasn't. It just seems like either you have it or you don't at that particular time. I know sometimes I feel like writing, other times I don't. And so when I read some of those things, I go, I don't even want to do this, So, but we talked in the car, and I thought that Greg take several subjects and start them out with a 2-paragraph thing, and hand them out in the group, and then see where they went from there. And then each person added 2 paragraphs, and that would be, their input.
In what order handing them out?
Yeah, and see, you could almost analyze the co-literation that we had earlier to see where it might be, where it might best take off. I don't know. It's just a thought. But I just feel like if you had a direction at the beginning.
You know what would be neat is taking like a bunch of books in the library, the paperbacks, how they have a little thing on the back that tells a story or part of it, taking and copying that down, and then from there, what we would do from that story. You know how they always leave you like part of the way in?
Okay,
and
that's
take and
good.
continue from there. That way it would be someone totally outside of the group to give us the idea, and then the group would have to go from there. But each of us go and pick a book and write down one thing off the back of the thing off the back of the book, and then give it to the group to destroy or whatever.
That's good.
Because that way
I
we're
like
totally
that.
out of the group. But that way each
I
person
like
can have
'em.
a choice.
So that could be an assignment for everybody to bring next week. Say that
Marbles,
particular
I
thing.
like 'em. Round and small and cute.
Yeah.
Or maybe the first paragraph of the book, because a lot of times the synopsis in the back of the book is going to go through the whole plot.
Yeah.
To the
Or
flavor.
the first, how you sometimes open up a book and before it has inside the story, it has like a paragraph that's taken out of the story somewhere in the middle.
Possibly doing this with short stories, just say the beginning few sentences in a short story.
I'm going insane.
Mess. She only gave a willing and helping hand. Where did people like her come from, I wondered? And why hadn't I met someone like her before? She seemed so concerned about helping without even asking for anything in return. Yet I wanted to say more than thanks. What kind of gift do you give to someone who just put your life back in order? Something made without hands or machines. A flower, I thought. No, not enduring enough. A smile will only fade with time. There must be the perfect gift, I thought. But what could it be? Where to find it? So my quest began to find the perfect gift.
That could go
So
a
began
lot
the
of
quest
directions.
for-
Yeah, that's my excuse why I've like never got anybody here at a birthday present. Find the perfect thing in it.
Who said it's-
Frank, I'll take anything imperfect. I'm an imperfect sort of person. I don't deserve perfection.
It's reverse it.
Why am I
Oh,
ego?
yeah. Well, see, I was gonna keep
Yes, an ego.
I
Yes.
just stopped there. I go, "Ah, good, that's a good place.
And while
to
you're at it,
stop."
throw in some pride.
There's a couple of pens over there.
So
Yeah, it is.
All right.
I saw that babe, man. I only one thought in my mind.
It's called striptease.
This is gonna be
beg your pardon.
Even
Okay.
Frank knows.
Look at those
You know the song
gazongas.
Centerfold?
Yeah.
Well, I got this idea from the song Centerfold. Striptease. She's doing a striptease. Oh yeah. The first time I saw her, her body's so fine. She was up on stage, and I wish she were mine. She looked so fresh, so sweet and pure. I fell in love right then, I'm sure. But she was doing a striptease, she was doing a striptease, oh yeah. She's nothing more than a child, hair so long and fine. Eyes so big and blue, oh she's the one for me. Her body was gently swaying, like the daisies in the breeze. When I realized what she was doing, I thought my blood would freeze. Oh striptease, she was doing a striptease. Oh God help me please, she's doing a striptease. That girl is doing a striptease, she's nothing but a child. Oh Lord help me, she's striptease, That child's doing a striptease.
You are doing this from a guy's point of view.
Well, you use music for that, you could probably sell it in the beginning. I don't necessarily want you to record me reading.
Okay, I won't. Go.
I think that
Red
was
light at the corner of my eye. The houses looked like pimples, raw and open and ugly on the once flawless hillside. She hated the houses, she hated the people who lived in them for building them here in her world. The first excavations 3 years ago had torn her apart as they had torn apart the ground. Every tree destroyed, every animal driven forever from its home remained within her, crying for revenge. Home after home had erupted on the mountains across from where she lived. What once had been her kingdom, shared only by trees, foxes, birds, and the spirits of the forest, was now.
That's good.
Jill.
I like that. And it's a female. It's a female.
Yeah,
Wait a minute.
you're right.
Female going insane.
He squished a Twinkie.
Bastard. Stab.
It's okay, they're unaffected by it.
I was waiting. I fell off the cliff. I'm sorry.
Jill, I like it.
I like
a lot.
it.
Yes, very good.
Yeah, I have a definite idea for the rest of it too. So
That's
I've got
good.
it written
It
right
helps.
here. Well, yeah, you're right.
I'm so agreeable that way.
Crash. And so you're still cold, and all of a sudden when your clothes get hot,
They touch you.
this heater is so intense I can't get near it. And no matter where you go, you'll always be extremely
That's
hot.
really weird. You do great.
Thank you. And so I'm going, and I realize she's got a dress on, and she's looking at me. And I'm going like this with this camcorder going woof, woof, woof. And then I explained to her what I was doing.
Somebody pet the dog.
Yeah.
Those Tito's are looking good. Damn you, get away from me! Shove the camcorder.
Hit one. Oh, good doggy. Good doggy.
Not on the carpet.
Feet off.
There it stood, like a distant memory. Like a sentinel overlooking the jagged skyline. A tower of perfect glass, black, sleek, and shiny. It stood out from all the rest, outdoing them all. It was McAndroids. The arches made my mouth water. I could just taste those flame-broiled silicon chips and that and 100% all processed protein scoops, I put my glider into full recontour and smoked through the flyby port. There was a young female prepubescent from Alpha Centauri, eagerly awaiting to take my order. At least I think she was eager. It's often hard to tell with the aliens. In fact, that was what I hated about them the most. You never could tell what the hell they were thinking. Her skin shimmered as she... As she As she bounded off to fulfill my order.
Fulfill my order, whoa. That's service.
I guess so.
My order floated over on the anti-grav serving tray and food warmer. I ate with /relish and vigor. Both mouths were working in unison.
No, that's funny.
I got up from the table and left the restaurant.
Sliding.
Oh. Sliding into my glider, I raced off. I still had a galaxy to save, but I preferred to do it on a full stomach.
That was good. Good ending, Frank.
Kind of do get tired looking in that little thing.
I watched it.
That's funny.
This is very annoying. Relief flooded over her as the plane landed. Her jaw ached with tension from the 2 hours of flying through the storm. Several times during the flight, she felt as if the storm would tear the plane from the sky and cast it upon the earth below. Normally, she would have waited for another flight, but the call had been urgent. She was needed now. Her friend Sue had called earlier that day. I need you was all she could chalk out between songs. We were college roommates together and had become quite close those years we spent in that drafty old apartment. Betty was the girl who got all the dates in school. Is her name change here?
No, she's reminiscing on Betty for a while.
Betty was the girl who got all the dates in school. I, on the other hand, always took her hand-me-downs. It wasn't a bad arrangement, as I always seemed to have someone offering to take me places. She was waiting for me at the airport, and we sat down together. She was a mess. She had miscarried her third child and was feeling like it was her fault, somehow, that no child of her womb survived. I felt fairly hopeless, but it seemed that I didn't need to even speak. Just that I had come was a balm to her wounds more than any words I could have said. Moral: friendship and caring is rarely expressed in words.
Wow, that's pretty intense.
Well, I didn't know what to say. I'm just like, okay, I gotta be serious. I was tempted to just go, okay, what did you read all of
And
these
then
that
McAnd
crossed
writes.
out?
That was weird.
No, read them. Things.
There was nothing I. Later in Denver, Satan the demon cried, I am going insane.
The car ambled down the street. It sounded if any minute could be its last. Exhaust formed a noxious cloud that lingered long after the car was gone. Spots of paint interrupted the predominant rust that covered the vehicle. The car pulled to the curve. The engine continued to knock and shake minutes after shutting. What's that word?
Shutting the key off.
I knew that. Shutting the key off. It wasn't my first choice on the car lot, but my sad state of finances brought us together.
I love it.
I was in college now, and after graduation I would be able to afford one of those sporty new 450 SLs. My, what's that word? Can anyone interpret?
Dating.
Wow. Psychological block there.
You didn't understand the word. Date. What is that?
I've never seen one. My dating was, to say the least, on a limited budget, but my girl didn't mind. She was practical. Anyways, I waded through weeds to to the door of this princess shack.
Princesses.
Princess's shack. She squeaked open the screen door. She sat me down inside in the shade and leaned forward as if for a kiss, but whispered, "John, there's something I've been meaning to tell you."
Fear in everyone's heart.
Uh-oh, I thought. I just met this guy who lives over the tracks a little ways. And well, he wears Reeboks and you wear Zips. His father is called Sir, yours, hey you. He drives a Porsche, you drive, well, honk honk. Oh, here he is. Sorry, gotta go, bye. And I only thought she didn't mind.
Always probably thought she did.
No, it's an only. And I only thought she didn't mind.
That's a sad ending.
Yes, that is a very sad ending. But it teaches us something.
Yeah, you better wear
What's
Nikes
that
instead of zips.
A nice car. Image is everything.
Without a doubt.
That's a heck of a moral. Wow, on the guy.
Okay, as the anticipation grew stronger and stronger, my mind began thinking back on what had brought me to this ugly state of affairs. Maybe if I would have listened more in school, taken my teacher's advice, I could be a plastic surgeon or something with 5 zeros behind the number instead of 2. Fixed income sucks, but I knew life would be much worse when the knock came at my door. There was a pounding and tiny red paint flakes floated to the floor in front of the door.
Good alliteration, huh?
I shuffled over cracked linoleum and bolted half a dozen steel safe cards, but I should have asked who was there first. They charged in before I could stop them, screaming and shouting, trashing everything that had no monetary value. I tried to leave, but a hand was clamped over my arm. "Stay here, old man, and there'll be no trouble. Leave and we'll have to stop you." Then I felt the coldness. It wasn't an ordinary coldness, but one that had bit deep into the bone. One of those evil things was coming. If only I had been a plastic surgeon. I had agreed to donate parts of my body to their science project. I hadn't realized that they would take them while I was alive. The first time it hadn't hurt too bad. Then the cold stuff stopped working. It was slow. I hardly noticed it at first, but now I could really feel the pain. The evil thing came in. There's no other way to describe them other than the evil things. It looked at me, then it gently cradled my head. No, not my head. No.
Oh, Denise. That makes you want to like hold your intestines.
Better than having someone else do it for you.
Like
I didn't do anything.
live organ donors.
Yeah.
Oh, I seriously, I could never sit in the same room as that scene. It was so hideous. Burning cheers, and he's like, give it back.
Blood spray hitting the ceiling. Oh.
And now he's gagged to Mr. Creosote. Oh, memories.
Read your thing.
You have a story, Sean.
Oh, psh. And I'm thinking, I'm just going, wow, I love all the attention. Hooting and hollering. Somebody massacred this story. I just think I charged into the meadow astride the Iron Lung. That's my bike. Too bad the meadow was chest high with purple cap thistles.
Oh,
They hurt with 100 stings and welts for weeks, but it was the only way to find the neglected hard dirt road beyond in the forest. My mother had often told me about the road as a child, but she had died before she could show me. Now almost 21 years old, I was back to relive a bit of my childhood. Flashbacks of my mother's face began to overwhelm me. The raven black hair, the pale snow white skin, the lilac eyes, and those huge monstrous purple lips. Arrgh! Always in my face, telling me stories, whispering in my ear, kissing me, smiling at an acknowledgement. She was always there. I could never get away.
and I hadn't really wanted to. Not at first. I mean, all kids love their moms, don't they? When I found out what she had done, she had killed Father. Well, not with her own two hands, but it was her fault. She'd taken him down the old dirt road, left him with a gallon of wine, and said she would be back in a minute. She never went back though, and I never saw her again. I hear rumors about a man found dead, but I guess I would never know for sure. But in my heart, I felt that she killed him, so in turn, I killed her. Duh. That's it.
My word of wisdom to the males in the group.
Oh yeah.
The moral of the
I don't
story.
think that would work with me.
It's gonna be